Hello and thanks for staying with us. This is Politics Now right here on LN 24/7. My name is Morno Balagbobo, and tonight on the show we'll talk about the state of the polity with a few talking points. First, we'll start with End Bad Governance protests, Labour Party versus the presidency. It's been quite, the back and forth between Bayo Nanuga and, of course, the spokesperson, media office rather, of the Labour Party candidate in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi. And away from that, we'll talk about alleged efforts to sabotage Dangote refinery. There is a lot of conversations about what happened on Saturday and his remarks to the House of Rep members who went to visit the refinery. And then finally, before we go tonight, we'll talk about Edo politics. Can APC take back power? And we've got just the right person in the studio to do justice to this talking points tonight. We have Mr. Akeem Akintayo. He's an APC chieftain and a public affairs analyst. And of course, good to have you with us, Honorable.
Thank you so much for having me.
The pleasure is all mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll break down some of the conversations we want to have tonight. Stay with us. All right, good to have you back. So let's begin with our first talking point, which has to do with the End Bad Governance protest, which we covered on Friday, but I don't think that conversation is going away anytime soon. The presidency and the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, have traded words over a planned End Bad Governance protest. The protest against economic hardship, which is gaining traction on social media, has been scheduled to be held across all states of the Federation as well as the Federal Capital Territory, FCT Abuja, in August. Now, prices of foods and basic commodities have gone through the roof in the last months as Nigerians battle one of the country's worst inflation. Food inflation is currently above 40%, yes. And of course, the economic crisis sparked by the government's twin policies of petrol subsidy removal and the unification of the forex windows and just a few other policies. The federal government, through the National Orientation Agency and the Nigerian Police Force, as well as the House of Representatives and some key stakeholders, including governors, called Governor Bagos, warning people not to do anything in his state, have said that Nigerians should be patient and not embark on the protest. Well, the presidential spokesman, Bayo Nanuga, on Saturday accused the Labour Party Obi of being the mastermind of the protest aimed at drawing the attention of President Bola Tinubu to the current economic situation in the country. And he warned that the protest could turn out like the NSAS demonstration by youths against police brutality, which turned destructive after it was hijacked by unscrupulous elements in 2020. And the presidential aide insisted that the economy has been improving, inflation slowing. There is no country in the world where people are not going through some economic challenges and where the cost of living is not a major issue, which is the same point, Bayo Nanuga told me when I interviewed him for our Democracy Day special. Now, in response, in a statement, a spokesman for the Labour Party, OBRL4, denied Onanuga's claim. Ufo said that there is no truth in that, and the tweet is just the author's figment of his imagination. And a Labour Party spokesman said peaceful protests all over the world are initiated and executed by the people and not the opposition. So that's the breakdown. So, Honourable, thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you so much.
This issue of protest, we've seen, so many stakeholders in government get, I won't call it fidgeting, but it seems to me that that's what it is. They're just like so concerned about the protest itself and not really the points that the protesters are really calling for. Because I recall there are some demands they listed, like, okay, reverse the petrol price, bring it down to 300. How possible that is, only God knows. And so many demands. But what are your takes so far?
Well, protests in Nigeria, it's something that you can always look at it from two sides. One, yeah, there may be genuine interest, and is of course the right of the Nigerian people all over the world, even in the advanced democracy like United States, even in Europe and UK, the rest of them, people protest if there are some policies that seems to be very uncomfortable with people. But you see, Nigeria, because of the nature of our politics, a lot of people commercialize protests. There are people that induce their own maybe political misfortune into protest, genuine protest, just like we witnessed in 2020, during the NSAS. Of course, some of us supported initially the NSAS protest when we saw the reason. Even someone like me that have been in APC for more than a decade right now, I've been a victim of police brutality, and when the protest, the idea of the protest came, we all kidding, and along the line, you see, politics was infused into it. Some brought ethnic, bigotry. Some brought chaotic, mindset, and the rest of them vandalizing private people's, businesses and properties in Lagos. And some of them have not even recovered up in. So the businesses that we are craving to create, or we are urging the government to create, we may be likely affected as it was in 2020. Even in America, you see Antifa and you call it the far right and the far left,
yes,
a group. When they go, you see some miscreants.
White supremacists.
Yes, So you see some miscreants, entered, embed themselves in these genuine protesters and begin to loot people's shops. So it is what we experienced in 2020, and I'm not like. I'm not against the government for warning, the people on the possibility of being hijacked by, politicians who want to settle score with the government because maybe they lost. On the other hand, we shouldn't, of course, maybe suppress the people's voice, which I don't think the government intends to do so. There have been protests since this government came on board. NSC have gone on protests, over the minimum wage. Nobody harmed them. There were a strike and the rest of them, nobody. And at the end of the day, it's all on negotiation table. So, why I'm a bit skeptical about this protest is that, for me, I feel, first of all, dialogue. If this is not actually political, dialogue should be the first efforts to be made, towards the government.
The government is not even making that effort to say even less dialogue, which, some people are saying. Like I recall having one of the analysts on Friday, and he was talking about the faces of these people. You can't really pinpoint who they are. If you say, okay, you're going to have a nationwide protest across the 36 states of the Federation, under what banner? Are the youths just going to come together? So I think, do you think that actually makes it difficult for government to say,
the reason why
these are the people?
The last NSAS protests, really didn't, secure any benefits for me. At the end of the day, just on the other hand, it's because, you see, every organization must have a leader. Now we are, and when there is no leader, then there is nothing on the table. So I'm of the opinion that if there is going to be, just like the NLC, they have leadership. You understand? We again, TUC or the rest of them, people that have genuine protests, like the NASU, ASU, they also list. So if the government wants to approach, they know the people to approach, and they will call them for that. But this time around, you have seen a lot of people who lost out in the election. I'm sorry to say, one of the candidates for the last election, general election, presidential candidate, is one of the people that is pushing for it. So you see,
pushing for the protest.
Yes,
but
one of
you
the
just
people.
heard in my report that Obiaro, for the media person of the Labour Party, said they are not involved in the protest. Now, there could be people, I want us to be very, very objective.
Yeah.
There could be people who could be, taking advantage
Yes.
of, the sympathy that, the average youth have towards Peter Obi and just capitalize on that to want to do something. Because I'll tell you, because I've done a lot of investigations, because sometimes when you look at these key people who trend on X, the social media, you've discovered these people are not even staying in Nigeria. So they have hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, and then they just capitalize on that to, get with the X algorithm, and then it gets trending, it gets traction, and then everybody just falls for it, which I think it's one of the conversations I hope to really put out there so that people can actually be smart.
Let's not even move away from the protests. Let's look at the reason for the protests. You see, they say on easy lies the heads that wears the crown. I know, most times when I engage some of my Nigerian colleagues on the other side, of the political colleagues, on debate on national issues, economy, and the rest of them, and I ask them, what other alternative options do you have? I am not happy with the skyrocketed price or inflation going around, the country, and on food items, staple foods, and the rest of them. Nobody's happy because, of course, it reduces the purchasing powers of Nigerians, and of course, it's maybe increasing the poverty level of Nigerians. Yeah, but on the other hand, what other alternative do we have than to do a thorough surgery on the economy? Let me see, there is nobody, that goes through, that has maybe a very high terminal disease, and maybe doctor prescribed surgery, that doesn't go through pain. You have to go through that pain before you now start feeling better.
But I understand what you're saying, and that's one. I'm very logical, because when you look at some of the policies that the president has implemented, the opponents actually said they were also going to implement those policies. But the question now lies when you hear stuff like, 15 billion, earmarked for VP residence renovation. You hear of some of the allowances in the National Assembly, and then you hear, the frivolous, expenditure, despite the moves of the president, to implement the Oronsaye report. We're yet to hear of that. The better Edu matter, we've not gotten any update on that. These are things that some of these people could be looking at and like, okay, how do we breathe? You said let the poor breathe, but we can't breathe. We were not saying you give us an example. Then you talk about the issue of 2 presidential jets, that's also in the conversation. These are some of the things these people see and like, okay, you said 1 year, we waited 1 year, and we're not saying, the cut in the cost of governance.
See, the thing is that, to be very honest, because I'm a policy and development analyst, when I studied the economic situations of the country for the past 10 years, if I may, you see, Nigeria has been operating under a cosmetic economic, status, if I may put it that way. Because, look, the injury that have been done to this country, it will take years for Nigeria to revamp, revive, and start growing. You see, it's unfortunate most of our leaders in time past or recent past, do not want to take this path that the president is taking, to take that bold step to fix the economy. Now, we have government borrowing and putting us in a very high deficit.
And this government is still borrowing.
No, let me know. I'll come to that. Look, you see, I am one of the people that actually supported Jonathan when the first subsidy was, floated to be removed in 2012. But fortunately, politicians and people
Including
did not understand.
The now president
People
joined in the protest against the subsidy.
I'm sure the president
at the time that President Jonathan was in office.
You know what I started? I said,
so if he knew by then that was the right thing to do, why did he not allow
that's why I say,
to do it?
Uneasy lies the heads that wears the crown. You see, it is when you get there. You see, there are a lot of people that go on social media, even go on the streets and be doing social crusader or activism. But when you get to this site, when you get to that office, by the time you see, the gravity of how this country has been wrecked for years, I'm not going to be sentimental towards APC or the other. You understand? The leaders we've had for over 40 to 30 years. You cry for this country because of the monumental mismanagement, let's not
forget that 8 years of that administration.
I said I am not going to pinpoint any political
but
party.
We have to pinpoint.
That's why I'm saying I am one of the people. You see, even the last administration, I was part of them. Of course, being a party member, also, one way or the other, I served in the last government, and I was one of the people that raised some concerns in some policies, especially borrowing, because with the way we were borrowing, because Jonathan started it, and I felt, look, let's forget about maybe the reaction that may possibly come due to fuel subsidy removal, or that will likely come, but that step has to be taken. Somebody must bite the bullet. Somebody must take that courageous step. That's why some of us are actually supporting this president, because there's no two ways about it. That has to go. It's like you have a disease that you're managing for years. You're just patching it, trying to treat the symptoms instead of treating disease itself to cure. That was how Nigeria has been running for the past 30 years.
But what about the issue of cutting cost of governance?
Now, if you come to cutting cost of governance,
what are the examples this administration has shown Nigerians that, okay, we know what you're going through and we are with you in it?
You see, that's why in the first place the president stopped frivolous traveling by members of his cabinet. I'm sure you saw a circular about some months back. Going forward, you must take permission from me before you travel.
That's just a tiny fragment of the resources.
At least that is a tip of the iceberg.
But Nigerians are saying that is not enough.
Well, the thing is that Nigerians must have to understand that, look, government must run, whether we like it or not. Like the issue of somebody said, okay, why didn't National Assembly reject their 16 million, is it 116 million or thereabout SUV? And I asked, the National Assembly, is it only members of APC that are there? For God's sake.
Majority.
Yeah, but if they call, I was waiting for Labour Party. I was waiting for Labour Party members to reject it.
Because I could recall Senator Akpoti, from Kogi State Central, talking about the fact that what's the point of talking when everything you say will not be implemented?
Okay, fine.
And she had to say that she would rather go on the path of putting things out there.
Wait, now you saw somebody like what's his name, Senator Ndumi, saying something different. Came out boldly to be on the other side instead of going with the flow, going with the crowd. So I'm of the opinion that Labour Party House of Assembly members or senators should have also rejected. But I'm not applauding,
does not excuse the APC lawmakers in the National Assembly.
That's why I'm saying, just took it from my mouth now.
Majority, and if they actually want to bring about a change in the system, they can, and that's because they are the ones representing the people directly.
That's why I say it should have been a collective decision, or even at least somebody must have started the agitation and say, no, this is not good for us for now. I was expecting it from Labour Party members that say, we are going to do better than the APC. You should have rejected. They should have rejected.
How many bills can they put through? The number that they have.
At least they say a majority have their way, but minority have their say. You have to have your say, but we are not seeing them saying anything. They are just going with everything. So so-called bogus allowances and the rest of them.
So it's not the fault of the Labour Party and not the fault of the
that I expect them to do differently, but they are not. But let's go back to the issues.
Making noise because we all, I mean, recall during the time of Saraki's leadership in the National Assembly, you saw how things were. If you have the numbers, then you can do a lot. But if you don't have the numbers, what are you saying?
The minority always have their say. But when the minority are not playing their opposition, then that calls for a problem or it calls for a concern. Now let's go back to the issue. Now the thing is that, look, like I was saying, the economy needs this surgery that the president is taking us through, and by the grace of God, we are seeing the end at the end of it. We are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, because in a short while, hopefully, maybe the refineries.
You said in a short while.
Maybe hopefully the refineries.
Last year December that we've been talking about.
This thing has been dead for more than 30 years. More than 30 years. You see, it takes somebody, just like he did for the local government authority. It takes boldness, it takes courage for those kind of infrastructure that have been dilapidated for 30 years to be revived. So if the president has, I trust his courage, which he has already demonstrated even before now as a former governor of Lagos, and of course still everybody is shying away from this fuel subsidy. That's why we're where we are today.
But the fuel subsidy is actually back based on the president's reply.
Just imagine if the initial subsidy was not removed. Nigeria would have been, but you see,
so why
people
did
don't understand the gravity
that subsidy has been totally
you see,
removed?
the thing
because
is that
when I confronted Bayo Naniga, he said that there is no subsidy, but the government shot himself, when they spoke to Labour.
Yeah, I have asked,
you want me to increase the price of fuel?
As a policy analyst, and development analyst, I always know that there is an iota of subsidy that's still remaining because of the adjustment in the exchange rates and the rest of them. Of course, the under recovery, this transportation of the crude from international market to Nigerian market and the rest of them. There's always there because, of course, while the government is trying to do this economic surgery or revamping, there still needs for a human face to have the feelings of the people or the pulse of the people, so that it should not be too much on them to bear at this period of time. So on the long run, there's still a lot of gains that is coming on the way. That's why I just urge Nigerians that, look, let's be patient. But we know we have been patient. But by the actions of the president, you could see that he means well for this country. He's a president that has that. For me, I just feel he's one of the president or leader we have in the past 20 years that have been so courageous enough to take bold decisions. And he doesn't care whether people abuse him or not. Of course, people are abusing him, but he doesn't care. But the most important thing is to do the right thing for the next generation, for this generation and the next generation.
I don't think the question is whether the president is not doing enough, but I think it's, it's just like you're saying, let me do this. They say you lead by example. If you want people to follow you, then and to follow your directions, no matter how painful, the path is to the destination, then definitely you also have to be on that path. That's one. Then secondly, some of the palliatives, and like recently the federal government said they're going to distribute, I think 700 and something trucks of rice, distribution of grains and all of that to the 36 states. Now when you ask the average Nigerian, that's not really what they want. And by the time this palliatives are distributed, both that of the financial palliatives and even the grains and the rice and all of that, which is beautiful, it doesn't really get to the people that truly deserve
you see one of the
which is also
one of the things that I actually
perception about this administration.
You see whether you like it or not, we have a lot of will I say too much people in the poverty pyramid, and you still have to give handouts to people as you're trying to reduce.
But does the handout get to the people?
You see, that's why the handout
should go out or not.
You see, that's why the president is thinking outside the box. Like for example, he introduced a student loan. That's a palliative.
But
That's
how will they pay it? When
No,
that's another.
No, that's why you have
issue.
to give the president the benefit of doubt. We don't have to think just or conclude that it's not going to work. He has his blueprint.
No, it will definitely work because those people, the beneficiaries, will definitely get the education they need.
Yeah, exactly.
But the challenge is, how do they pay back the money?
You see, that's why I say we don't have to think on behalf of the president. He has a forecast,
and he might be out of power by then. Who knows?
No, you see, I believe the president will be there for the next 7 years by the grace of God. Yes, by the grace of God, because where the policy is putting through right now, most of them will start yielding results in just a couple of weeks or months. You're talking about now the student loan have just begun. I think it's going to start this week. Then you talk about the local government. See, I'm one of the advocates of local government autonomy. It's unfortunate the last administration couldn't put it through the way it should. They were just going around it, but they couldn't hit it at the nail. Now that we have local government autonomy, credit to this president. Because look, let me tell you, one of the reasons why you have high poverty level in this country and a lot of rural urban migration is because there is no governance at the grassroots, at the community level. That's why you see a lot of young people run away from their villages, their towns, and come to the city. We crowd the center. Everybody is trying to maybe an employment, one slot of employment. You see about 20 persons, applying for such. And you see the infrastructure at the city gets deteriorated and get pressured to the extent that it collapses. So now when we have this local government autonomy, you see a lot of people will be encouraged to go back to the basis, to go back to the communities, the grassroots, to start competition of ideas. You understand? Competition of ideas on how to, develop Nigeria from the bottom. Yeah, I believe in bottom-top approach, not the other way around like people see. Because let me tell you, no matter the kind of palliative you send from the center, from Abuja, rest assured that maybe 40% or 50% might not get to the grassroots.
Yeah, we must definitely commend the president on the local government autonomy because as a growing young man, I always felt like, okay, why is this arm of government, seems as if it is lifeless? Because I've done work with an NGO and I've been to so many local government area in the country. So I can tell you for a fact, how this will go. But then the challenge to it now is the issue of the state governors and some of the key issues that has been raised. You heard former Governor Fayose, raise concerns that how will it work? Because you look at the local government elections at the moment, and you're looking at the results.
I'm not part of the doubting Thomases.
The results.
Let me tell you, people who are complaining about this is people who are part of the people that have wrecked the local government.
So what
talking about Fayose, for God's sake, he was the former governor. He has political structure, and his structure is going to be it's going to be competitive right now than what it was before. So the new people see, I have a lot of friends who are in the National Assembly, House of Assembly, some of them commissioners. Say, look, if the direction of the local government is going with the help and assistance of the president, they are ready to even resign from their honorable seat at the National Assembly to go and contest, because there will be money to do basic things, give soft loan maybe to farmers. See, or even the fuel insecurity that we're complaining about, it's all from the basis.
Why the governor is able to install puppets at the local government
the way
level?
it's going, I'm praying that the president or the central government that is driving this process, we wrap it up with maybe an agency of government that will take responsibility the CX, the state governors,
and
that
also
always
legislation too.
yeah, that of course. I'm sure you're a journalist. You saw what happened at the National Assembly. There's a bill right now being processed by the National Assembly for maybe an agency of government. Me, I'm of the opinion that if some percentage of the local government fund
that will conduct
can be used
elections.
to fund that agency. Let them conduct the election. Let's have competition. Let's have people see. Immediately that judgment was given by the Supreme Court. I got the call from one of our party members in US. So look, this is one of the best news she has ever had in her life. She's about 50-something years old. Now look, if this process is concluded and going the way it's going, that she's ready to come back and contest for local government, because these are people that have passion for the poor. But when the instrument to govern transparently and bring development at the local government at the local level is not there, what would they do? You just watch and see. But we thank God. See, this is the beginning. For me, I feel the second independence of Nigeria. This is the beginning of development that we are. This is the beginning of the end of insecurity, because if we have governance at the local level, there could be partnership between the agencies of the security agencies and the local government, because what we have right now is that even the local government chairman does not reside at the local government centers or local government areas. Most of them stay at the state capitals. What they do is, after collecting their so-called monthly jack, they go and just spend one day, pay salaries to workers that don't even come to work. Then the next day they get back to the center.
Now, before we wrap up this issue or on the protest and what government is doing, to resolve economic hardship, I think when I look at it critically, because I hear from both sides as a journalist, I can't be partisan, and it seems as if there is a gap between the communication of what the government is doing and for people to really understand the government's standpoint. Would you fault the National Orientation Agency? Because I think there is a lot of gap that needs to be filled in terms of the communication, how it is communicated.
Well, I'm not a spokesperson for the spokespersons of the president or the NOA. The DG of NOA is a friend of mine. I think, you see, some of the government apparatus, you may not know, they also have the challenges of funding, just like we have been saying here. That look, some people don't understand that this government is just surviving to run. See, Nigeria is. I was telling somebody the other day, I say Nigeria is almost technically broke. But forget about all the noise about jet this and jet that, or
no, we can't forget about. No, the noise.
See, the point is, look,
do we need jets?
No, let me talk about the jets now. Now that you mentioned it,
do we need that?
Now, let's talk about the jets. For God's sake, you've been hearing about presidents of different countries die either in the middle of the air. I think the recent was in is it Namibia in Africa? The president of
our
Iran.
president.
No, by the grace of God, he will not. But the point is, when you have an aircraft or a presidential jet that have been operating for the past 25 years, I learned that jet was bought by Obasanjo, and he's been going through all kinds of repairs, to the extent that the president went for this global warming conference, I think in Dubai or thereabout, earlier in the year. The jet couldn't take off. He had to go through and he hired the jets, and that's for me is an embarrassment to our president. But people don't understand, because a lot of people,
monies that were being released for the maintenance was it really?
You see, the cost of maintaining the private jets is even expensive.
So do we need to?
For God's sake, you have a president and a vice president. You want the president to be using one, the president and the vice president to be using one aircraft? For God's sake, let's be rational.
When you look at other nations of the world, they don't. Some of them don't really.
For God's sake, we are not the other nation of the world. This is Nigeria.
Can the president
and the security of our country and the safety of our our president is paramount.
Is it bad for the president to fly airpiece?
For God's sake.
Wouldn't it be cheaper and the money stays in?
Okay, let me ask you. Is it that bad for you to take Keke Napep?
No, I'm just saying because
Kaduna.
If the president will do that, I don't think people will come out to say they want to protest.
For God's sake, let's be realistic. For God's sake.
Okay, but because of time, I want us to move forward with our conversation. It has to do with the issue of the Dangote refinery. There's been a lot of expectations from Nigerians that this is actually going to kickstart, and then we heard, one of the senior managers of the NNPC, make some comments regarding the refinery that they're producing substandard fuel, and it took Dangote, the richest man in Africa, to go with the House of Rep members to the refinery, and then they had to perform tests for them for him to clarify that this is actually good. So I don't understand what is really going on here. So why would he make those kind of comments in the first place?
The thing is, I'm a Nigerian like you, and of course I told you I'm also a private sector man. I am not a spokesperson of the president, and I've not heard even the presidency, making any comment on this issue. And I'd rather wait for them to make comments before we can maybe either toe the line or interrogate the comment from the president. But be it as it may, what is going on between the NNPC and Dangote, refinery is nothing that we should smile about. It's not encouraging because, it's, like I said, someone like us, we are pro-private sector because that's where a majority of the jobs are created. It's not a government job, civil service job. It's just
because this is coming after Dangote complained that IOCs, are backing.
I think there are a lot of
for crude oil.
There are a lot of inner circle rivalry, if I may put it that way, for lack of words, going on between both the regulator, the practitioners, the IOCs, and Dangote and the rest of them. But you see, what I would have encouraged is that for the past maybe 25 years or more, we've been praying to have a functional refinery. And yes, if someone, use his hard-earned resources, to create jobs and, bring us this edifice, gigantic structure in Africa, one of the biggest in the world. And what we're hearing from the people that ought to be supporting him, it's not really encouraging. But
So,
I will pray.
The president keeps talking about cabals, that has not allowed this nation to work. So could this be, a prime example of, a cabal who is speaking in the form of Farouk, say that...
I'm sure the president did not endorse that interview. I am very sure about that because, you see, the president that you saw or you're seeing today is one of the people that facilitated the location of that refinery is in Lagos. I'm very sure about that. He is the one that have been encouraged. He's one of the friends to Dangote. And if you are,
so why would
you
he
have
say
seen,
something like that? Because he also said that the Dangote refinery has not been licensed to operate, noting that it is risky to make the company's petroleum products.
Like I said, that
the
comment
sector, which,
is not,
according to the news this morning, Dangote said yesterday that he is backing up investment in the steel production production,
all those things
simply because of these allegations of monopoly.
The president is a businessman, and he's a private sector driven man. He has been there, and he has also been in the oil and gas sector. He worked with Mobil, remember, and years back. So I have a feeling that all these are just misunderstanding that ought to be, tackled behind the scene. what we're seeing is not, like I said, it's not encouraging even to foreign investors.
But it's quite shocking to me because you realize that for so many years, decades now, our local refineries have failed to kick off. And then a private investor, has gotten to this point, and then you have someone
I think we're
like
saying
this
the same thing.
saying that his products, are substandard. That's very, very discouraging. I mean, if the richest man...
If you ask me...
It tells you why, again, to the issue of protest, why Nigerians are calling for protest. Because one of the key demands, according to Labour, was like, we should get our refineries working. And then you have someone like this, making this statement, which you said in your words that he is also a friend of Dangote. And when the local refineries were actually sold to him, it did not work. Now he's building afresh, and now they're saying
it will be sorted
all of
out.
this.
It will be sorted out. I'm a fan of Dangote because he's a job creator, and he has made us proud over the years. I have a firm belief that the president will intervene. And you see, even the statement from the NUPRENG and the NMDPR, I don't think it's really necessary, in my own opinion. And it should have been something that would have been discussed.
This is not the first time Dangote is complaining, because he was also complaining about the interest rates, and he said that, how will small businesses
the
richest
rates,
man in Africa
on the
is
interest
complaining that
on the interest
it is difficult to do business in this country. What about the small, medium scale businesses?
On the interest rate, on the interest rate, I will a bit disagree with Dangote because, he's a businessman, but you also ought to know where we're coming from. That one of the reason why we're having this inflation across the country and in economies is not because of isolated case of Nigeria. It's a global phenomenon. I was analyzing it on one of our platforms with some people on the other side, opposition critics, and I try to explain to them, look, the reason why we're having this, there are two factors. It's many factors. One of them is global. It's not really Nigerian thing, because after the COVID, there are a lot of governments across the world that pumped money, into the system in the name of handouts. Like in the US, eventually when Biden took over, he actually went into welfareism, and they were, to the extent that they were even paying the rents of Americans, and they are paying school fees for them, this, that. So you see, when you add not only American, even in UK and the rest of them, they were doing handouts, giving people all kinds of money so that they can revive their businesses. All those things are parts and parcel of what causes inflation. When there is too much liquidity in the system, what I mean by liquidity is that there's too much money, too much dollar.
So what happens?
And I'll give you another example, another
business
reason.
And employers of labor are not able to pay workers.
Let me just finish my thought.
The government.
Now, those things. You see, some of these products that we import or we use in Nigeria are imported, and most of them are shipped either from Europe, America, Asia, and the rest of them. All these things, they got inflated price due to, of course, after COVID, inflation and the rest of them, too much supplies of money in the system and the rest of them. So the price of things, went up. And by the time you import them into Nigeria, you buy it at an inflated price, different from what you used to have before the COVID. So these are one of the reasons why we have inflated prices of goods and services back in Nigeria. Then on the other hand, the latest the recent past economic managers of the country, they're also at a point. They use our foreign reserve to do collateral. Some of them, we were even printing money at the point within the 6 months, a Nigerian currency was printed to almost the tune of, some were saying 22 trillion naira, some would say 30 trillion naira, different figures. But there were too much money in circulation. That also affects inflation. Now, on the other aspect too, when you have insecurity in part of the north that is producing some of the agricultural products, there will be scarcity of commodities. That also affects inflation. Now, the Ukraine and Russia war is also part of the things that it also affect inflation, because some of the things that we use in Nigeria, like the grains, Ukraine is one of the highest exporter of grains. And aside from them, Russia also, exports oil and gas and the rest of them. But when these two countries, are to a war of attrition right now, it also stopped exportation of these grains. So you can see the price of bread that we used to buy 500 naira before, now is almost 2,000. It's not the cost of Tinubu.
Okay,
because
so
I'm just giving you examples of reasons why.
Let's get back to the issue of
inflation.
You are pretty confident that this is going to be resolved.
No, I'm just answering why CBN had to peg the 30% interest rates on. So the point is, see, when you're fighting inflation, you have to control money supply. You understand? So
bear the consequent adverse
No,
effects.
the point is for at least for the emergency period, when you're trying to fight inflation, you don't allow too much. You see, that's the reason why.
So
that's the reason why the president, yes, it will go down. That's what even this CBN and the finance minister said. I think a week ago, that look, for now, by the time they watch how the inflation is going down, of course, also try to fight the margin between dollar and naira. They will have to bring the price, because if there is lower the interest rate, it will also spur economic growth. People can borrow money from banks and the rest of them, and they create jobs, expand their businesses. People don't have to go and be sourcing for international loan and the rest of them. So we understand what the economic managers are trying to do, and I don't know, maybe it may be out of misunderstanding that Dangote is talking about the interest. It's not out of malice. So he
probably is not saying it just because of himself, but also other people who are.
I'm a businessman too. I will want to.
Into business.
Yes, I'm a businessman. In fact, right now my company is going to go into solar too. Well, that it is because we don't produce some of these panels, batteries, and the rest of them. We have to import, and we cannot go and borrow money at 30. It's not really palatable for businessmen. So we want it to go down.
Yeah.
You understand? But we also understand, as as a very considerate business man, or entrepreneur, that look, the government is trying to help this generality of Nigerians to control inflation. By the time, hopefully, with the measures of import of agricultural products to stabilize the price, by the time the price are stabilized, and of course also, you see, that's also the reason why this local government autonomy was important, because once the local government, because they are the one closer to the farmers, once it's working, those loans can be directed through the local government, because they will know who is farming, not the one the CBN will be giving billions of naira to politicians in the name of one anchor burp. Yes, we know. Some of them may work, but majority, 80% or 70% may not work.
Okay, Honorable, we need to go on a quick break.
Yes.
Okay, so because we need to talk about Edo State and some of the comments that Ganduje made on Saturday. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, glad to have you back on Politics Now, away from the conversation on protests and, of course, the economy. Well, let's move over to Edo State, where they reinstalled Deputy Governor Philip Shuaibu alongside the Democratic Party Legacy Coalition members. In his company, he defected to the All Progressive Congress. And, of course, he defected during the Edo State's inauguration of the National Working Committee of the Edo Governorship leadership election meeting held on Saturday by the APC. And this follows accusation by Shuaibu that his principal, Godswin Obaseki, denied him entry into the state. So you're a member of the APC, Honorable. So congratulations. You have another, how will I call it now? Another member.
Yeah, he was actually a founding member of APC. So
why did you leave APC?
It's out of interest.
I don't seem to understand what is going on.
Of course,
where the grass is green, that's where you just run to.
That's why you see a lot of Nigerians traveling abroad. So you can't blame politicians Japari for
Labour parties in power.
No,
you Japa.
Some of us, started with APC.
Would you call yourself a stable politician?
Yeah, by the grace of God. For the past 10 years, I joined APC.
But APC has been ruling for almost 10 years.
Yes,
so where were you before 10 years ago?
I was just watching the scene. I actually,
you were not a member of the PDP.
No, I was not a member. I was just being a true Nigerian. I actually voted Jonathan in 2012, just to surprise you. Because we wanted to see something different then. We thought it could bring it to the table. Being the son of nobody. That's what moved us or motivated us that time. But unfortunately, the power that be, surrounded him and misdirected him, and we got to where we were then.
So let's talk about Philip. Does this change the dynamics? Do you see your party being able to take over Edo State? Because it's a strong PDP stronghold right now.
I don't think it's actually APC
the governor
stronghold.
has gave the minimum wage before even federal government gave minimum
those
wage.
are handouts. Now we know this. We know how this
they are handouts, but they are effective handouts.
It's just when I say something to salivate the Edo people for to change their direction or change their orientation, but it's not going to work because they all know that APC is Edo and Edo is APC. We at least even the governor, the present governor, he stole our mandate. I'm sorry to say, he actually stole our mandate.
How did he steal your mandate?
He took away our mandate. He went. In fact, assuming things were working, we would have collected our mandate.
So why did your party fail to maintain its mandate?
Well, we just, it's just about interest. He felt, his political interests could not be, accommodated. So he went to PDP with our mandate. So we are hoping to get it back through the ballot this time around. And Edo people know that with someone like Adams Oshomole, who is a grassroots politician.
A grassroots politician that could not ensure victory for your party at the last election.
There are so many intrigues that played out that you don't understand.
Ensured victory for a senatorial candidate.
No, but you see, if he's not a grassroots politician, the seat that he won, it was actually occupied by the PDP. He won the election with almost a landslide because
and you trust him to deliver APC
by the grace of God, because we have unity of purpose right now. We have unity. That's because we have unity of purpose right now. PDP, they are in scrambles now. You can see the
scrambles at the national level.
The former deputy, or would I say, the court just said is the main deputy. So the deputy governor just came to us right now, and it's a plus because he's a comrade, and of course he was one unionist at the students' union level, and of course being a protege of the.
It's quite funny to me because you look at the fact that the court just reinstated him back as deputy governor, and then he goes to defect to the opposition on the mandate of the party that brought him into power, and he fought to secure back that mandate, and then he defects. Does that make any sense? No,
but the point is that we were expecting Governor Obaseki to drop our mandate, and the de facto is PDP. But he also took our own mandate to PDP, which is somehow immoral. It may be legal, but it's immoral. But on the other hand, you see the thing is, in politics, they always say there is permanent interest. All right. So I am sure that
when you say
Philip
permanent interest, I think you should rephrase to personal interests, because all this politics in it, including what's going on in Rivers State, as sad as it is affecting governance for the people.
You see, the thing
This is not in the interest of the people, is it?
Politicians are learning their lessons. Some of them refuse to learn their lesson, and that's why you see them having all these kind of squabbles and infighting and misunderstanding with people that actually help them into power. I can bet you for sure, by the grace of God, we are going to take back Edo State because of so many factors. One, people are not, they are seeing the difference between Adams Oshomole's era and Obaseki. There's large difference. Like I said, if the people of Edo did not feel the impact of Adams Oshomole, they wouldn't have brought him back as a senator. That's going good for him. And now we have a united front. That everybody's on board. We are one united family, and we are going. Unlike the PDP, that is busy fighting Shomole at one hand, the other hand is fighting Philip Shaibu. On the other hand is fighting one of the biggest chieftains in the PDP, Wike, at the center. And so you can't go to a war front with a divided house.
But what about the power of incumbency?
Forget about it.
We should forget about it.
My governor, I'm from Oyo State. Abiola Ajimobi, he was an incumbent governor, but he was defeated by the current governor because he had a divided house. He aside from the divided house, he was overconfident, and in fact, he contested while he was leaving. He contested for Senate. He lost his senatorial seats. So people see Nigerian electoral system is getting better. Nigerians are getting aware, and there's a little bit of credibility. When people say, it's APC rigged the election, for God's sake, the last election, I forgot how when you saw a divided PDP. Labour, P2B was in PDP just less than 6 months and defected to Labour. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, so they divided their votes. If you combine their votes together, I think it's about almost 16 million thereabouts. While we won with 8 million. So you cannot go to a battlefield with a divided house. And that is what the PDP at the Edo level, they are trying to do right now. And it's going to be very disgraceful and embarrassing to them when we get to the field.
All right. Well, our time is up. We've got to go. Once again, thank you so much, Akeem, for being with us on Politics Now.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks at home, thank you so much for tuning in today for Politics Now. We'll see you same time right here on Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching, and to have a lovely evening. My name is Mono Balagogo.